Hello, I'm back, and this is my third and final video of today. The title of this video is, what caused the decline of much of the video game industry, and or why I'm never buying a Microsoft console, ever. Basically, I spent some time thinking about this, researching things, using my memory to go back in time and to think, what caused the decline of the video game industry? Now, my first console was an SNES, but then I went back later on and got an NES, PS1, a Sega Genesis, a Sega Master System, all those types of things. In order to augment my abilities, kind of like you might go back and read earlier works from your favorite author, or earlier books in your favorite series. And I came to a conclusion. During the SNES Sega console war, Sega does what Nintendo don't! Look at those blast processors! And Nintendo's, now you're playing with power! Gaming was still great. Gaming was great during the N64 generation. Gaming was great up until the arrival of the Xbox. Yeah. This is when we got, and it started very inconspicuously. It started with buying exclusives and spending, which was why we didn't see Mass Effect, the original Mass Effect, on systems until for like 5 or 6 years. We didn't see Mass Effect 2 on other systems for like 3 or 4 years. So, paid exclusives, money hatting, which encouraged lazy-ass development. Because basically, it used to be that you put out a product, the publisher basically paid for development, okay? They also handled marketing, and they took a cut of the profit. So, they take like 60%. So, if you were a small studio, and you made a game that made $60 million, publishers would take $40 million, and you'd get $20 million. But they would fund the development of the game. They'd say, okay, this game, it's going to take you $10 million to make this game. Okay, here's $10 million, and we'll take an extra $5 million, and that'll go to marketing. That's how it used to be. But Microsoft changed the game. They changed the game not by following the Eastern model of video game development, which was you put out a solid product, word of mouth would spread, and people would like it. You build an audience, okay? For example, Nintendo doesn't really need to advertise a Mario game, because it's a fucking Mario game. Everyone knows that a Mario game's coming out. They're like, oh, Mario's coming out. Or Zelda, or Metroid, or, here's the thing. Nintendo fans watch the VGX, okay? We got Donkey Kong, but we were expecting Metroid, Zelda, Star Fox, any of those things. But would we have been shocked and surprised that they had shown one of those three? Yes. But they didn't really need to tell us anything. We were just expecting that because we're Nintendo fans. We're the audience that Nintendo built. Sony stopped doing that. Sony used to make quirky IPs. They weren't as good as Nintendo IPs, but quirky IPs that built a niche audience, which was, back in the PS1 days, which is why we had such games as Paw Rappa the Rapper, Ape Escape, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Medieval. These were pretty good games. Were they as good as Nintendo IPs? No, but they were pretty good. They attracted people to the brand, to the Sony brand. But with the arrival of Microsoft, the Dude Bros came. And the Dude Bros are some of the worst video gamers, the worst thing to happen to the video game industry to ever exist, okay? Dude Bros suffer from ADD. They have short attention spans. The only thing that matters to them is that a game looks pretty. Gameplay, depth. If it looks pretty and their friends are playing it, that's all they give a shit about, which has crippled gaming. Crippled it horrifically, okay? So basically we have people spending huge amounts of money hyping up a game that might be shit, but it's gonna sell because it's, even though it's shit, because dude bros want to play it. We have studios spending more money on marketing than on actually developing the game. Case in point, I believe 2K spent more money on marketing GTA 5 than they spent making GTA 5's multiplayer. Oh, yeah, I said it. I said it and I meant it, and if anyone thinks I'm lying, they can kiss my... Stopped myself before I said it. So basically, this started with Microsoft. Money hatting. Pushing out an inferior product to fix it with a patch. Notice, Bethesda did not start making console games until the Xbox came out. That had a hard drive, so that they could patch their broken, shitty games. And yes, I said it. Bethesda games are massive, they're fun to play, but they are buggy and laggy and just broken at launch. I mean, could a Japanese developer get away with shipping broken games like Bethesda does? That's why, I get PC Gamer magazine and Geek magazine, and they're talking about Elder Scrolls, the MMO. I'm like, that game's gonna be broken as shit for the first year and a half. Patch to fix patch to fix patch to fix patch, because Bethesda is a PC gaming studio at heart, and PC gaming, just whether you love it or hate it, is about patching. But it makes sense with PC gaming because not all PCs are created equal. Okay, you can have a dynamite rig that is cheaper and made with different parts than someone else and get the same in performance. But it's all how that rig works together with all its component parts. There's no standardized PC rig, okay? If there were, you wouldn't need patches because everyone basically had the same shit, and, it would be like, oh, we don't have to worry about that. Patching makes sense on PC. On a console, it tells me you're a lazy-ass developer and you don't know what in the fuck you're doing. Or either that... I mean, there's only three concepts that can go along with why you'd have to patch a console game. A, it's something you generally just missed. You genuinely just missed it because your testers didn't play the game the way that an actual gamer would play the game. Hence, a good example of this is Pokemon X and Y's Lumiose Cities glitch. The testers weren't really thinking about playing it that way. For example, I used to be a tester when I was in high school. During the summer, I just test games. And I can tell you right now, and I didn't get paid that much, but I can tell you right now that if you're testing a game, you don't have the same... You're not going to test it the way someone would play the game at home. In some cases, and believe it or not, some people, when you say that, they think, oh, you mean you guys are doing it worse? No, testers look for specific things to go wrong, okay, in the areas that they expect. Gamers do things that a tester would never think of, because gamers, they are truly invested in the entire experience of the game. A tester is not, okay? A tester's like, okay, I've got we heard about this glitch, and they keep on, and they try it over and over and over again, and if it doesn't come up, they say, well, it was just, it just didn't happen. That's just how we roll, okay? I'm sorry, I know some people get mad, but, that's the first example, that Pokemon X and Y, they didn't think that would happen. Then there is the second group of patching, which is, you didn't Q&A test enough, okay? Skyrim, that buggy, glitchy mess, was full of oh my god, or not Skyrim, sorry, not Skyrim. Fallout 3 was full of just, they didn't Q&A test enough, okay? They were trying to meet, a date to get the game out, and they thought, oh, we can patch it later on, because they are a PC development studio at heart. Then you have the third group, which is lazy ass developers. These are people. This is a game that needs to be patched because the developers are just fucking lazy. They're lazy. They do not want to stretch themselves to learn new ways to do something or to learn a different operating system. So they just get lazy and they say, "Oh, we'll patch it." Bethesda is both of the latter two. They don't Q&A test enough because they're trying to meet a certain deadline, and their games are just fucking lazy ass developers. I mean, fucking lazy. But back to my original point, they started on the Xbox, the original Xbox. Why? Because it had a hard drive so they could patch their buggy, shitty games, which was Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Yeah. So Microsoft started this. They started it. And Sony, because they saw how big the Xbox began to grow and the Xbox 360, followed suit. They stopped competing with Nintendo. Like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Started competing with Microsoft. So now we have two of the big three paying for exclusives from third parties, neglecting first-party IPs. Because, I mean, Microsoft's first-party IPs are shit. Halo and Gears of War. Sony has better first-party IPs than Microsoft, but that's like saying you're the smartest kid and that you're the fastest of the fat kids in PE. Look, you're the most fit fat kid. You're still fat, not overweight. So that's not really a hallmark of your health, okay? You're just better than the other fat kid who's like 300, you're 250, he's 300, yeah, you're slightly healthier. Still, you're overweight, okay? There's nothing to really brag about. Sony had okay IPs. Now their IPs aren't really that good anymore. They game the review system so that both Microsoft and Sony game the review system so that their games get really good review scores when people who actually play the games are like, these games are garbage or not nearly as good as they were hyped up to be. But we let them slide because they're Sony and Microsoft. How lovely. So this leads me to why I will never buy a Microsoft product. Microsoft has continuously done things that have, they've thrown a stone into the pond that is the video game industry. And the ripples have affected everything else. Third-party companies used to make games for all systems, and they did their best to highlight the strengths of each set of software. Or they did it differently for each set. Nope. Third-party exclusives, or games or content that's exclusive for like a year, 6 months, 3 months. Third-party companies getting paid for games to be exclusive, and the games are still broken. Charging people subscription fees for shoddy infrastructure to power servers and internet usage, when if you have really good internet, which you need in order to use it properly in the first place, you shouldn't need to pay them jack shit. Microsoft. All Microsoft. So, no. I will never buy a Microsoft console. Ever. I will never buy an Xbox 360. I will never own an Xbox. I will never buy an Xbox One. Frankly speaking, if I didn't have to have Windows on my computer because I grew up with it and I'm familiar with it, if I had the time or energy to learn how to use other operating systems, I would. But I'm so familiar with Windows that I'm kind of stuck with it. But other than that, Microsoft is the antichrist of the video gaming industry. And I know some Microsoft fans, Xbots, are going to be, but Microsoft gave us multiplayer. Yeah, but big fucking deal. Technically speaking, online multiplayer was big with PCs, not consoles. So, those people who love Halo and Gears of War, you have to thank PC gaming for that, not Microsoft, okay? And their Xbox brand. So, no. Microsoft has had a negative impact on the gaming industry. Not to mention the pièce de résistance, broken consoles that people buy new versions of because they are fucking idiots. Okay? Let me tell you something. If Nintendo released the Wii U and it was broken day one, or it broke on me, and they made me jump through so many hoops that it was almost not worth it to get them to fix it, and then the other one that they sent broke, and then a third one that they sent broke, I wouldn't buy Nintendo products. What type of fucking moron buys 3 versions of something when the shit has broken? I'm sorry, you're an idiot. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Look, I own a Toyota Camry. Okay. Now, if my Camry was constantly, before I paid it off, this Camry is almost 9 years old, and I get it serviced, and it generally holds up pretty well. But if I had a new Camry, and the first year I had the car was constantly just falling apart, issues with it, and it's brand new off of the assembly line, I would not buy Toyota vehicles anymore. What? Why don't you? I understand you people have a preference, and you need to have certain games, but for the love of God, enough. That's the end of this rant. I just wanted to get this off of my chest as to why I feel the video game industry has really begun to collapse on itself. If you want to know where I got this news from, I advise that you go to playeressence.com. I will leave a link in the description below. Definitely go to playeressence.com. I will also link an article from Cracked that gave me the inspiration for this rant. And basically, I just want to share my feelings. Have a good day.